followers of Lord Chaitanya, we have a specific vision or understanding that actually Chaitanya Vaishnavism is still got a long way to go in terms of uniting all of Sanatana Dharma. In
Hmm.
other words, the ISKCON movement is, although very prominent and powerful in India, is
Hmm.
still not seen as a uniter of Sanatana Dharma. It's seen as a separate sect of Vaishnavism. So we understand that the real moksha, the real Amrit from the pot of Dhanvantari is the Amrit of Prema Bhakti for Radha and Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. So it's a very, very specific conception of moksha rather than the generic conception of moksha into the impersonal Brahman, which is the generalized understanding within Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. So we still have a long way to go to actually promote this Chaitanya vision, the Goswami's vision, Prabhupada's vision of understanding of what moksha is. Yes, they're going for the moksha, but the moksha for most of these people is not the same as the moksha for the Hare Krishna devotee. So, in that sense, the devotees that are serving, in other words, devotees go there, but many devotees are going there to preach, to distribute prasadam, to distribute the holy names, Harinam, to distribute books, and to distribute, the association of the devotees, project, giving talks and lectures. So when the devotee goes there, we should understand that this is the real essence of what Kumbh Mela is about, is to actually bring people to the understanding of what Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, as coming through the vision of Chaitanya and the Goswamis. That's our conviction. And that's why we're doing what we're doing within Prabhupada's ISKCON. So these are the real sadhus. There's millions, millions, and millions of sadhus going there. The real sadhus is a small handful of Hare Krishna devotees.
Yes, Prabhuji. That's, I mean, the visuals, at least it's showing like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the visuals are clearly showing more of like Shiva Bhaktas and things like. But I think
It's,
it's a good melting point where everybody could just like, I think what Amaga Prabhu is saying also, like everybody coming together as Sanatan Dharma under one umbrella, whether
it's
you're
umbrella. Yeah. And that can be appreciated, but what
Hmm.
I'm saying is ISKCON still has a long way to go, so
Yes.
that other followers of Sanatana Dharma can appreciate that ISKCON and Chaitanya are actually meant to unify all of Sanatana Dharma. That was the actual vision of Prabhupada.
Hmm.
Not that not that we're a small sect within the Vaishnava community.
Hmm.
No, the Chaitanya legacy is to unify all of Sanatana Dharma. And who knows how much we'll see of it in our lifetime, but that's actually the vision of ISKCON, is to bring that vision together.
Yes, Prabhuji. And I think compared to many other places, because over a period of time, because of many invasions and things like that, it became our Sanatan Dharma has become more of like ritualistic thing. And so in this era, in ISKCON or our Hare Krishna movement has even more important role to play because they're bringing knowledge to the table. It's more than rituals. It's all about
That's the
knowledge.
point. That's the point. We're bringing knowledge. We're
Yeah.
spreading the holy name. We're giving prasadam. That's very simple.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's the lectures and the books that are
Yes.
the knowledge of what Chaitanya Vaishnavism is all about. Hopefully, the important people, intelligent people will read the books and become favorably influenced, and it can change their life.
Absolutely, Prabhuji. It's so important actually. Then I think like a foot soldiers, I think all the wonderful monks from different temples all over India also I see very active participation and very actively and very aggressively they're just going ahead and reaching out to people, following forming sanghas and things like that. So this is the right time to be in, where ISKCON is really spreading its wings with big, massive temples and bringing more people on the platform of spiritual knowledge than rather than being just ritualistic. So I think this is a beautiful time to be in, where you can,
Yes.
every one of us can spread this knowledge than just being ritual. Because in today's world, people want to know answers. They want to know knowledge. And
Yes.
Dharma has all the answers. It's not a blind faith or a blind belief, but it's based on Vedic knowledge.
India in general is on the rise. Geopolitical, economic influence is growing and growing and growing year by year. But
Yes.
more importantly, it's the cultural influence, meaning spiritual cultural influence, that is also growing and affecting America. I don't know if anyone noticed, Akash Patel
Yes.
is going to be the FBI director in the United States, and he brought his parents from India, and he bowed down to the feet of his parents in front of everyone. Now, in India, that's normal. In
Yeah.
America, it's like completely abnormal
Yeah.
for the son to bow down to the feet of their parents and go, Jai Shri Krishna.
Yeah, I think that was really amazing, Prabhuji. Just to
Yeah. So that's my point, is the influence of Indian culture is on the rise. You would have never seen that just a few years ago. Now you're seeing it. What to say of Tulsi Gabbard?
yeah.
But
I think one very beautiful thing that you mentioned also, Prabhuji, it is time a wake up call, like because a lot of people feel very apologetic when somebody asks about Sanatan Dharma. We don't know how to answer, and we start, brushing things like, all religions are the same, everything is the same, and things like that.
well,
Just trying to find out a way to just cover it up. But I think seeing people like Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, and they being proud of where they belong to, that they're proud Krishna devotees. I think this is a beautiful message, like, for Indians who feel like where we feel like there's nothing we should have that kind of.
not to be embarrassed, not
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
ashamed of your
Exactly.
tradition.
Exactly. Not to be embarrassed, but feel proud that you belong to the Sanatan Dharma.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
actually, its time has come where, and they are really great role models at a global level. FBI is not an ordinary thing. They are the main top,
Oh, come
top
on, this
powerful
is big.
agency.
This is anyway. I could go on. I don't want to talk about it too much, but yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a very big deal. Yeah. FBI director, they are the ones who are mastermind behind most of the things. So I'm really glad that that's a great start, and hopefully they will contribute and bring more Krishna devotees together. So I'm so happy.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not clear exactly what Krishna's plan is, but
yes,
Krishna has a plan,
yes, a plan.
and yeah, Krishna has a plan,
Yes.
and we know that Prabhupada wanted devotees to actually be involved in real politics.
Hmm.
That is, it's there in Lilamrita. Prabhupada's in America. He started a new political party. It's called the In God We Trust Party for a Purified Leadership. He started that in 1972, 73.
Oh, we didn't know that, probably.
I walked into it when I joined the temple in Atlanta. That's what the devotees were doing. My temple president was running for mayor of Atlanta under Prabhupada's guidance
That's
with
amazing.
a new political party, the In God We Trust Party. On every uh, dollar bill or $5 bill, $20 bill, $100 bill, it says, In God We Trust.
Hmm.
On the American currencies. Prabhupada took advantage and said, okay, I'm going to start a new political party, the In God We Trust Party. But then he added for purified leadership. Purified leadership.
Hmm.
Of course, Prabhupada stopped it also after a few months, but it was clear from many letters and the way Prabhupada communicated at that time. The movement was young and immature, but he wanted devotees to actually take roles in real political power.
Hmm.
So that was over 50 years ago. And now fulfillment is coming true with Tulsi Gabbard. She's not exactly within ISKCON. Her guru formed a schism from ISKCON in Hawaii, but his name is Siddha Swarupananda, Prabhupada disciple. Okay. So she's a disciple of a Prabhupada disciple. Just as so many devotees in ISKCON are disciples of a Prabhupada disciple. It just happens to be that she's outside of the institution of ISKCON, but within her heart, she knows all about Prabhupada's teachings, kirtan, all of it. Chaitanya, the Goswamis. So exactly what Kash Patel's situation is, I don't know, but it was Jai Shri Krishna. On some level, he's a Vaishnava. What kind of a Vaishnava? I don't know, but he's more of a Hindu, whereas Tulsi Gabbard may externally identify as a Hindu, but she has to just so that she doesn't confuse people. It's already difficult for her having a guru. They think she's subservient to a guru, and a guru is going to tell her what to do. In running the Department of National Intelligence, they're afraid that her guru is going to tell her, "Okay, you're my disciple. Tell me all the inside secrets." So it's already difficult enough for her. So she has to be very careful how she presents herself and her alliance with Vaishnavism. Absolutely. So, but the point is, within her heart, she is a follower of Prabhupada, yes, without a doubt.
Yes. She glorified Prabhupada, Prabhuji, in one of the messages.
Of course. She grew up with Prabhupada's books. You understand? She's a disciple of Prabhupada. So it's not, like I said, whatever Kash Patel's situation is, or J.D. Vance's wife, Usha, she's also a Hindu. I don't know exactly what kind of a Hindu. But the point is, with Tulsi, she's Gaudiya Vaishnava, without a doubt. Disciple in that sense.
Absolutely, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Sara Prabhu, Ashwin Prabhu, Sanchit Mataji, Ajay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
And
Krishna.
pranam to all the devotees.
Thank you for joining. Yeah, we were just, we had this a nice start actually when Prabhuji is, as always, just sharing about this. I think it's so important. I think I feel it's, as Krishna devotees, sometimes we have to be aware of what's happening in the world and not be just be in a cocoon. I mean, it's very important for us to share and about update each other and some of the things that are happening, because whether we like it or not, everything has a very lot of influence in today's world. But the most important thing is how Krishna consciousness can play a big role on the global stage as a new era is going through, where India is going through a lot of economic prosperity and the country is growing, and a lot of people now are looking at, growing spiritually as well. So right time to be in there and to share spread this knowledge through the Prabhupada's books, as well as, just sharing through satsangs. That's the best way we can bring together. And I remember my journey also, like it happened thanks to Saurabh Prabhu, who actually called me and just pulled me into the Sangha, and that's it. The journey went in the next gear, top gear, into bhajans and things like that. So it's so important. We always say people in the mandir, like satsangs are very, very important, because on our own journey, instead of our doing journey on our own, but if you have a satsang, it's much, much, much easier to just go. On that note, with everybody's permission, we just go a quick prayer. Ramnath Prabhu, if it's okay, I will just do a quick prayer.
Yes, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Hey Krishna, Karna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopisha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute, Taptakanchana, Gaurangi, Radhe, Nation, Rishabhanusute, Devi, Pranamami, Hari Priye. Jai Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachar Nirvisesha Sunyadan Pashata Deshatarin Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasudi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Always so happy to be with our devotees. Satsang, it makes me so joyful. Always look forward to Thursday. And by Krishna's grace, by Prabhupada's grace, how many chapters we have covered. We have hit half a century, more than that. And we are still going strong with all our devotees associations. So I'm still so pleased and so happy that how we are going strong. As we always do, before we dive into the Krishna, I'm going to just share the chapter. And yeah. So we covered till 59th chapter, and we were actually in the 60th chapter. And before we go there, we just a very important sloka from Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti takataha chakradeham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjana. Where Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, one who understands Krishna's katha, Krishna's leelas, Krishna's divine appearance, Krishna's whatever leelas that Krishna does, even if we understand and go through the Krishna katha in the association of devotees, and those devotees who are listening to Krishna katha towards the end of their life, they will not come back into this material world, but they will directly go to the supreme planet Krishna Loka. So it is so auspicious for us to be in the association. Why do we have to listen to Krishna katha? Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe. Anything that is relating to Krishna is Krishna himself. So these beautiful leelas of Krishna, everything that happens in Bhagavatam, this beautiful 10th canto, everything is a form of Krishna. So it is very important for us. Anything that is related to Krishna, that is Krishna himself. Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe. So we had actually started off with these talks between Krishna and Rukmini. We seen how Krishna is a very, very important chapter 59, which we covered, where we mentioned about how Krishna went and rescued all the princes who were captive in the by Bhamasura or Narakasura. And finally, we seen how Krishna is literally, none of them are no match for Krishna. Krishna is so all-powerful. That's why we call him as Bhagavan, because he's got all the 6 opulences, unlimited strength and unlimited power. So they were no match for him. And now Krishna rescues them, not only rescues, but as we always say, Krishna is Atma Rama. He doesn't need any of these things to be engaged in, but then Krishna is always reciprocating to his devotees. I think that's very, very important to understand that one, Krishna's leelas are all divyam, that they are all transcendental. And second thing, to understand that Krishna is always reciprocating. Ananyas chintayanto ma ye jana paryupachate tesham nitya bhuyuktanam yogashemam vahamyaham. That whoever is asking for Krishna, meditating or worshipping Krishna, Krishna is reciprocating and taking care of the Yogashemam. So these talks between Krishna and Rukmini, we see in the beautiful story how Krishna goes and Rukmini writes a letter, and a very beautiful moral that came out of that particular chapter, that from Rukmini's love for Krishna, we can understand that by Shravanam is the most important thing, because Rukmini, even before she seen Krishna, she fell in love with Krishna because she always heard about Krishna from Narada Muni and all of them. So we should always very keep in mind that how we fall in love with Krishna, how we can develop the love for Krishna is by listening to Krishna's leelas. Nama, Rupa, Leela, Guna, these things are 4 of them. Now, Krishna's Nama is important, Krishna's Rupa is the important, Krishna's Leelas are important, and Krishna's Gunas are all important. 64 beautiful qualities of Krishna important. So as we keep diving into the nectar of understanding the Leelas and things like that, Krishna also fills up our heart with so much of transcendental pleasure. And we've seen how this talk between Krishna and Rukmini, and how once So before we go ahead, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We've seen that Krishna is giving this knowledge to all the living entities, right from Brahma to insignificant. And we also seen that when Brahma was actually came from the lotus, he was just wondering what is his mission, and everything was, he was in completely in darkness. And only when we meditated that he was given all this divine knowledge with which he could do the creation. So it's very important that Krishna is always when we meditate on Krishna, Krishna is reciprocating by giving the required knowledge. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajati priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. So those who are constantly serving with Krishna, Krishna says, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. So whether it's from Brahma or whether to it's the little ant, Krishna is the one who is giving the intelligence. And now here we see the beautiful pastimes of Krishna sitting in the bedroom of Rukmini, and Krishna was sitting on the bedstead of Rukmini, and maids also fanning him via Chamara. So these are the very intricate details, so much of personal detail, because here we are not worshipping Krishna as a supreme Brahman, or we are not worshipping as an impersonal form of Brahman. But the whole idea of listening to Krishna Katha is to develop complete knowledge of Krishna and to develop such kind of a love for Krishna. And how can we develop love for Krishna unless we understand that beyond the Brahman, Krishna has a form. And they're not only Krishna has a form, but there are so many leelas of Krishna. So Krishna, when he came on the planet, he was doing all the formalities which had to be done as per the Vedic culture. Krishna is dealing with Rukmini as a perfect husband and a perfect manifestation of the supreme perfection of personality. There are many philosophers who profane the concept of absolute truth, with God cannot do this or do that. So this is the thing, right? Everybody is in a different level of consciousness. So there's certain people, whether they belong to different tradition or different religion, they have knowledge only to a certain extent. Like a train, when it's coming from far off, you know that there is something coming, but you're not sure what it is. As you come near, you know that there is something looking like a train, but only when it comes near, you know that this particular train has an engine and it's got the compartments and things like that. So this is about knowing Krishna at a very personal level, and not just at a vague concept like God cannot do this. And many times people think that, oh, how can you bind God in a small deity form and all that? But they don't understand that it is Krishna himself who is mentioned that always worship me in the personal form. Mayavasya manoimemam nityayukta upashate shraddhaya paro yopeta tame yukta tamamataha. Krishna tells Arjuna, the best form of worship is always worship, doing devotional service. One who fixes his mind on my personal form, that is the best form of worshipping. So this is what Krishna also says. And they deny the incarnation. This is what some other people do, because for the very reason that either they have never read the scriptures where they talk about the personal form of Krishna, or they belong to a different religious faith where they don't have knowledge or information about this at a personal level. They deny the incarnation of God as the supreme absolute truth. The most important thing is they think that, oh, how can God come in a human form? But the most important thing is, even though when Krishna has come, like, in that human form, like as a son of Vasudeva, the most important thing we want to understand is Krishna is complete Sachitananda Vigraha. He's completely spiritual. His body is completely spiritual. We've seen on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Lord was looking like a young thing, because he is not subjected to the three modes of nature. The gunas are always operating on us, and without we doing anything, we are constantly changing our body from boyhood to youth to old age. But Krishna is not subjected to all this material gunas. And he's all powerful. He mentions in Bhagavad Gita that he's above the three gunas. He's all powerful, omnipresent personality of Godhead. And by his supreme will, he can not only create, maintain, and annihilate the cosmic, but he also descend an ordinary human being to execute the highest mission. So Krishna is omnipotent. He can come in any form. We've seen that he comes in the form of Narasimhadev also. It's all depends on how much of love that devotees have that Krishna is reciprocating. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamiham. According to how much devotion you have, Arjuna, I am always reciprocating. If you think that I'm just a statue, then I'm going to remain as it is. But if you are showing so much of love and you know that it is Archa Vigraha, form of Krishna, then Krishna responds in that capacity. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever there are discrepancies in discharge of human occupational duties, he descends. And we all know very popular sloka where he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya Glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrajamyaham. He himself says whenever there's a decline in the religious principles, he descends to set an order. So when Krishna came himself, he was following all the Vedic culture. He was setting an example. He was doing everything that is required, whether as a son. Even we know that when Krishna was feeling bad, that Devaki and Vasudeva, they could not spend enough time with him. He allowed them to satisfy whatever desires they had, so they could send him to Gurukul to study with, with the Sandipani Muni, and they did whatever all those desires that they had, they could fulfill. So he's always fulfilling the desires, but at the same time, he mainly simultaneously annihilates the disturbing elements in the progressive march of human society. That's one of the things he has come to. Even though Acharya say that even though he can annihilate all these demonic people in many ways, but mainly the most important thing is he comes for the love of his devotees to enjoy the transcendental pastimes. In according with the principles of the transcendental pastimes, he descends in the eternal form of Krishna in the dynasty of Yadus. And the palace of Rukmini was wonderfully furnished. And we've seen this, we covered a bit over here. We've seen there were many flower groves of Mallika and Chamela, and there were many heavily flowered with trees of Parijata. So we can bring to mind all these things, like we were saying, like last time also, poetry and prose and all these things, they're no match to see the kind of standards or the intricate details that have been mentioned. Even when we're describing about the palaces of Dwarka, or you can see the most intricate details, how beautiful the gardens were there at that point of time. And the palace of Rukmini, how beautifully it was furnished with all the valuable jewels and things like that, heavily flowered Parijata trees. And Rukmini was, even though she had so many maid servants, she got an opportunity to serve Krishna personally. She wanted to serve Krishna personally and took the hand of the Chamara. We've seen that, right? Even in one generation, so much has changed. I remember when we were small and we used to watch black and white movies, we used to see those, when the kings are there, or during the Vedic times, they used to have the chamaras they used to fan the kings and things like that. So that was the kind of culture at that time. And even now also you do get those peacock chamara, this thing, isn't it, which you can fan the gurus and things like that. So it's amazing actually that it's amazing to understand that whatever some of the practices that we are doing even now, they're all coming from the Vedic times, including the games that they used to play, or the practices that you used to have, or whether the marriage ceremonies that used to happen. And imagine the kind of a luxury and the kind of opulence at that point of time, where even the handle of a chamara was made of gold and bedecked with valuable jewels and things like that. And you can imagine how beautiful it is and how beautiful Rukmini was. We know that when Rukmini was actually, Sushipal was planning to marry, and all the princes, they were setting their eyes on Rukmini because she's the goddess of fortune. But Rukmini, she's made up her mind that Krishna is going to be her husband. So the intricate details, like how even her legs were decorated with ankle bells and which rang very softly and things like that. And even today, right, when we go to some Bharatanatyam programs, you can see like how we can get a bit of a sample of how beautiful those olden ancient times must have been, isn't it? They cover their feet with nice, kind of things which makes some good nice noise and things like that. And and above all, because she was engaged in service of Krishna, at that time she was old enough to have grown sons. Her beautiful body was beyond compare. So this is the normal thing, isn't it? As normally as we age, we may start looking up to our age and things like that. But here we can see that even though she's at the age when she could be having sons, like she had such a beautiful face and such a beautiful complexion, a smiling mouth, and a necklace of gold, all combined to shower rains of nectar. And thus it was definitely proven that Rukmini was none other than the original goddess of fortune, who was always engaged in the service of lotus feet of Narayan. So this is the most important thing to understand, that the goddesses of fortune is always serving the feet of Narayan. So wherever when we are engaged in serving Krishna, when we are engaging in serving Vishnu, the lotus feet of Vishnu, that is where Lakshmi Devi is. That is where Rukmini Devi is. So the best way, as we say, Paripurna Avatar Krishna, that when we worship Krishna, it's like worshipping all the devatas. Even the goddesses of fortune becomes pleased because even she's serving the feet of Narayana. So the pastimes of Krishna and Rukmini in Dwarka are accepted by great authorities as manifestations of those of Narayana and Lakshmi, which are of exalted opulence. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan are simple and rural, distinguished from the polished urban characteristics of those of Dwaraka. So as Prabhuji was mentioning last time also, even though we are worshipping Radha and Krishna, but the opal in terms of like the vibrant, the way we dress up the deities is more of like in the form of Lakshmi Narayan, in terms of opulence and in terms of the grandeur and how we want to, present across. So it is interesting, isn't it, how Krishna is over there in with Radharani, he's in a different mood over there, and then here you find like as the king of Dwaraka, here in the opulences of Lakshmi Narayan. And we've seen that, right? If coming from South India, I'm sure like if there's anybody from South India, like you would understand when we go to a Narayana temple, you see like everything is like Lord Balaji is like dressed up like so much of opulence. It's like literally grandeur. Like when you look at it immediately, you'll feel like, wow, this is amazing. It's so striking to the eyes. So Krishna had experienced that when Rukmini was offered a parijata flower by Narada Muni, Satyabhama had become envious of a co-wife and had immediately demanded a similar flower from Krishna. So here goes another Leela. So Krishna is got each chapter is Leelas after unfolding, and again within the Leelas, again you have a mini Leelas as well. So it is so amazing. We can see like how step to step, how we can see the changes in the different situations and circumstances and things like that. So now we seen also like earlier also Satyabhama where when Bhaumashira was there, Narkashira was creating a lot of problem. What Krishna did, he went along with Satyabhama, right? So different Leelas, again with different queens, whether it could be Rukmini or it could be Satyabhama. And now we can see that Satyabhama was, because Rukmini was offered Parijata, now she also wants a similar flower. And I think maybe a lot of things these days also we come from the Vedic times. I think maybe in terms of the competition and things like, these kind of things. In fact, she could not be pacified until she was promised the whole tree. And Krishna actually fulfilled this promise. He brought the tree down to the earth planet from the heavenly kingdom. So we've seen that earlier, after the Bhaumashira was killed and all that, then Krishna, Satyabhama goes to Indraloka, isn't it? And where they get this full tree of Parijata. And after this episode, Krishna expected that because Satyabhama had been rewarded with the full tree of Parijata, Rukmini would also demand something. And Rukmini did not mention anything of that incident. However, for she was grave and simply satisfied in her service. So again, there's so much that we can learn from each of them, like in the mood of devotion and how they were kind of like interacting with Krishna, isn't it? How Satyabhama's interaction with Krishna and how Rukmini's the mood. And similarly, when Krishna also comes in different avatars, and when he is come in the avatar of Ram, he came in as a Maryada Purushottama, and when he came as Narasimha avatar, he came in a different mood of anger and kind of like, because he was so angry with Hiranyakashipu for tormenting his purest devotee. And this is something which we see very common among Krishna or his incarnations, that even a devotee, like even if we see that in Arjuna also, in spite of the Kauravas treating Arjuna and the Pandavas so badly, in spite of trying to set the house on fire, in spite of insulting Draupadi, in spite of doing all those things, still Arjuna was filled with compassion that he was not ready to. He was saying that let them come and kill me and I don't want to do anything before the war started. But we had to see so much that even a devotee sometimes may forgive, but Krishna will not forgive if anything wrong goes to his devotees. He's very, very strict about of the people who cause harm to his devotees, whether it is Draupadi who was insulted or whether it is Pandavas who were unfairly treated by the Kauravas. So we can see that always Krishna is reciprocating in that way. Rukmini did not mention about this incident, but she was very satisfied in her service. So this is what happens, right? When we become Krishna consciousness, one of the qualities that we start develop is not being envious of anything. And in the spiritual world, actually, unlike in the material world, there's so much of animosity and enmity. In the spiritual world, it's more of like supporting each other and encouraging. And this never, because people are always seeing if somebody is worshipping Krishna and doing nice service, also devotees appreciate such a beautiful service you're doing and encouraging and supporting. I think that's how it's in the nature of the spiritual world, unlike in the material world, which is full of material anxieties and things like that. And that anxiety is because of this enviousness. But in the spiritual world, there's no anxiety. There's only Ananda, Anandamayo Vashyat. Krishna wanted to see her a bit irritated. So now you can see that Krishna, whenever Krishna Leelas is there, Krishna is never quiet. He's up to something all the time. When he was a small child, he was always playing with the monkeys and just trying to do all kind of mischievous things. And even now here we can see that Krishna, even though Rukmini was not reciprocal or was not reacting to Satyabhama being given as a claim, but Krishna wanted to see her a bit irritated. And therefore he schemed to see the beautiful face of Rukmini in an irritated condition. Although Krishna had more than 16,100 wives, he used to behave with each of them with familial affection. So this is the thing, right? Because when people say, oh, how come Krishna married 16,100? Because he is the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord manifested in 16,100 forms of Krishna. That is the most important to understand. And not only that, when people say, oh, when Krishna can marry, why can't we marry? Well, Krishna also lifted Govardhan hill. Can you lift it? So very, very important that Sahajiya mentality should not be there. As devotees, we spread these beautiful leelas. That too, very, very important to understand that these are all very spiritual. They are showing, because when Krishna came in different avatars, there was a certain limit to everything. He once came Narasimha Avatar just to prove the point that God can appear from anyone to serve to protect his devotees. And again, when he came as Maryada Purushottam as Ram, he did certain things, but there was never like in the form of Krishna where he displayed his complete role as a complete Supreme Lord in complete unlimited form. His leelas were completely he showed in every way that he is the Supreme Lord of the universe. They were not limited to a particular leela. He was like completely fully blown. Krishna showed throughout the Krishna leela that he is the Supreme Lord, that he can manifest in so many forms, that he can even bewilder someone like Brahma. He can even bewilder someone like Narad Muni who couldn't understand that when he went to each and every palace, Krishna was doing something else. Krishna was playing chess with Rukmini. He went to Satyabhama. He was playing somewhere in the garden and again he goes to another queen and he sees that he is doing something else. And so he was literally bewildered. How come Krishna is manifested in so many different forms? So very, very important to understand that Krishna is only reciprocating to the love of his devotees. In this case, because Krishna could not find any fault with Rukmini, for she was very grave and always engaged in his service, he smilingly in great love began to speak to her just to provoke her loving anger. Rukmini was the daughter of Bhishmaka, a powerful king. Thus, King Krishna did not address her as Rukmini. He addressed her this time as the princess. My dear princess, it is very surprising. Many great personalities in the royal order wanted to marry you. Although not all of them were kings, all possessed the opulences and riches of the kingly order. They were well-behaved, learned, famous among kings, beautiful in their bodily features and personal qualifications, liberal, very powerful in strength, and advanced in every respect. They were not unfit in any way. And over and above that, your father and your brother had no objections to such a marriage. On the contrary, they gave their word of honor they would be married, that you would be married to Shishupal. Indeed, the marriage was sanctioned by both your parents. Shishupal was the great king and was so lusty and mad after your beauty that if he had married you, I think he would have always have remained with you just like your faithful servant. So this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, you can just bring to mind, right? Like when someone so beautiful like Rukmini Devi just come here and Krishna is trying to create a situation here to provoke her, trying to say like, because we've seen this beautiful Leela in the earlier chapters where Rukmini says like, in spite of Krishna is saying like, there were so many people who were so eligible bachelors at that time. They were like qualified in so many ways. But here, even though there were so many people around there who were just so much of enamored by seeing Rukmini, but Rukmini has already made up her mind. There is nothing that can change her mind. She has already heard about Krishna. She knows about the beauty of Krishna. She knows what Krishna's leelas are, what Krishna has done. All these things, all this have been played. And the very beautiful thing is, Narada Muni has played such a very important role in Krishna's leelas. And he's the one who always kind of like, does all his role to perfection. Even before Rukmini could even think about the other princes, Narada Muni goes and already brainwashes her with all the beautiful, loving leelas of Krishna, so that she has already fixed in her mind that there is no other way. Like, unlike some of the later princes, when Krishna went and married all the other princes also, maybe they did not hear so much, or when they seen Krishna, they were so enamored. But here it's not the case. Here, Rukmini has already heard, and she's fixed up in her mind. So now Krishna is trying to find out, like, how come, they were all like so eligible, and Shishupal himself was a king actually. He was so desperate to marry her. In fact, he couldn't take it that Krishna took Rukmini away and he started chasing her and things like that, isn't it? We've seen that. And in comparison to Shishupal with his personal qualities, I'm nothing. And you may personally realize that. I am surprised that you rejected the marriage of Shishupal and accepted me, who am inferior in comparison to Shishupal. I think myself completely unfit to be your husband because you're so beautiful, sober, grave, exalted. May I inquire from you the reason that you induced you to accept me? Now, of course, I may address you as my beautiful wife, but still I may inform you of my actual position that I am inferior to all those princes who wanted to marry you. So can you imagine, like, when a girl makes up her mind that this is the person whom I wants to marry, and she's not even thinking about anything else also. But Krishna is now provoking her, like, what made you marry me? They were so qualified, and all of them, like, especially Shishupal, and even the parents also decided, right? Even Bhishmaka also already decided that he's going to give in hand with Shishupal and things like that. And here Krishna is downplaying himself, where he's saying, like, I think I'm inferior to him and things like that. I think if you look at anyone, even in today's world, like, say, there's some guy and he married a very beautiful girl, and I think it would be very natural for somebody to even ask the question like that, like, what made you marry me? Because you were so qualified in so many ways and things like that. So the curiosity is always there. So Krishna is then trying to get from her as to, like, what made you really, because you're so beautiful and they were qualified person like him. So what made you marry someone like me who's so inferior? First of all, and the beautiful thing about Krishna Katha is everything is quote unquote. This is like literally a dialogue of Krishna, that's the reason why I like to just read it line by line, because these are the words coming from Krishna. These are just like how Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. These are the beautiful words that are coming from the lotus mouth of Krishna. So, quote unquote, it's directly what Krishna has actually said directly to Rukmini. First of all, you may know that I was so much afraid of Jarasandha that I could not dare live on the land. And thus I have constructed this house within the water of the sea. It is not my business to disclose this secret to others, but you must know that I'm not very heroic. I'm a coward and I'm afraid of my enemies. Still, I'm not safe because all the great kings of the land are inimical to me. I have personally created this inimical feeling by fighting with them in many ways. Another fault is that although I am on the throne of Dwaraka, I have no immediate claim. Although I got a kingdom by killing my maternal uncle Kamsa, the kingdom was to go to my grandfather. So actually, I have no position of a kingdom. Besides that, I have no fixed aim in life. You can imagine the heights where Krishna is like, he's the supreme Lord, how much he's underplaying himself and putting himself down. People cannot understand me very well. What is the ultimate goal of my life? They know very well that I was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. People expected that I would follow in the footsteps of my foster father, Nanda Maharaj, and be faithful to Srimati Radharani and all her friends in the village of Vrindavan. But all of a sudden, I left them. I wanted to become a famous prince. Still, I could not have any kingdom, nor could I rule as a prince. People are bewildered about my ultimate goal of life. They do not know whether I'm a cowherd boy or a prince, or whether I'm a son of Nanda Maharaj or I'm a son of Vasudev. What is my address? Because I have no fixed aim in life. People may call me a vagabond. Therefore, I'm surprised that you selected such a vagabond husband. This is like the heights of Krishna downplaying himself, isn't it? Like normally, it is one thing to be humble, but here is Krishna after doing all the grandeur leelas, like, even lifting a golden hill. And we all know very clearly, Krishna is trying to downplay, saying that, he was afraid of Jarasandha, and then that's the reason why he constructed this house within the water of the sea, which means he's talking about Dwaraka, right? Because Dwaraka is created. But we know from the Leelas of Krishna, but that is not true, because Krishna was never afraid of Jarasandha. He's just playing a gimmick out here on Rukmini, just to extract from her and see like what's her reaction. But we all know that because even though Krishna is, Ranashore, they call him, that he ran away from the battlefield. But the actual fact of the matter is that he defeated Jarasandha 17 times. And even when the 18th time when Jarasandha came, he just left because he had to attend the call of Rukmini and not because of anything else. And that was the reason why he went. And then he created Dwarka because he wanted to shift all the people, because they were constantly being attacked by Jarasandha and Kalanemi and things like demoniac rulers like them. So he wanted to keep the people of Mathura very safe. So that is the reason why he created Dwarka in the middle of the sea, and he transferred all the people from Dwarka, from Mathura to Dwarka. So that was the reason. But here, Krishna is just downplaying himself and telling two things which are not right. One is that he's afraid of Jarasandha, which is not true. And second thing, that because of that, he created this house, which is not true, because he created Dwarka just so that all the devotees of Krishna are safe and from Jarasandha, and because he was constantly attacking. And he's also saying he thinks that he is not heroic and he's a coward and afraid of his enemies, which is not the case. We've seen that whether it is Kaliya, he went and danced on the hood of Kaliya, right? We've seen that whether it's Bakasura, whether it's Putana, he's never afraid of them. And he literally put an end to Agasura or Bhimasura. So everybody who came, he was able to easily defeat, and he was never a coward. In fact, he handled all of them like just like how you would handle a small toy, actually. Even a Kamsa also, he would just jump on him and he would just put an end to Kamsa, a ruler like Kamsa. And even the elephants and all, everybody who have just came to attack, even the wrestlers who came to attack Krishna in Mathura, he just handled them just so with ease. So it is not the case, but here Krishna is just downplaying himself, and that he is not safe, and that all the people of the land, kings of the land are inimical to him, which is of course, the demoniac people are always inimical, like Jarasandha, Shishupala. They were all like batchmates, right? We've seen that even when Shishupala was trying to get married, you have Jarasandha and everyone by the side. It's like birds of a feather flock together. Like, so even the demoniac people, they just join together. But for Krishna, it's always like either Balaram was there by his side, which is what happened in the case of Rukmini when he went to save Rukmini. Krishna was taking Rukmini in a chariot and driving away, and it was Balaram and then the Yadava army who stopped the Jarasandha and fought back with them and things like that. And he's saying, like, what do I get? There's nothing which is of my possession. And this is the beauty about Krishna, right? If Krishna wins this Kurukshetra war, it's the Pandavas who get the credit. If Krishna wins by killing Kamsa, it is Ugrasena who gets the throne. So like that, if you really look at it, Krishna is just downplaying it, but actually in certain way, if you really look at it, that was the case, isn't it? Kamsa was killed, and it's not that Krishna became the king of Mathura. He put his grandson, Ugrasena, he got him back from jail and asked him to rule the kingdom. And so people cannot understand that what's the goal of my life, because at every time I'm going and defeating and doing all the things, but I'm never the ruler of the place. Same thing happened even in other places as well. And people expected that he's going to follow the footsteps of Nanda Maharaj, because Nanda Maharaj was having 900,000 cows, that he knows that he's going to be faithful to Radharani and things like that. But things took a different turn. And this is the beauty about Krishna. Like, there was so much of action all the time. And when he was small and he was his Balagopala, he had beautiful pastimes with playing with the monkeys and the gopis and things like that. And then again, later after that, going to Mathura, and then another set of action that started out there. And so people are bewildered, like, what's this ultimate goal? Like, and one side he's a cowherd boy, or whether it's like, what is this actual position? Like, sometimes we all play different roles, isn't it? Sometimes, it happened in my case also, like when you join a company, you just join for one particular job, and later, if it's a small company, you'll end up doing so many things that we don't know what exactly. Are you a manager, or are you a lead, or what is it, kind of thing? So it's like, is it like a jack of all trades? Like he was holding different positions, and he was as a person in Vrindavan, he was a savior for them. They never looked at Krishna as a god, but they had so much of love for Krishna, whether it's the gopis or the cowherd boys. They just loved for Krishna for who he was. But there was always a confusion about, like, but everybody was bewildered. So Krishna is saying, like, people are bewildered of what exactly is my goal of life, because there is no fixed aim of life. But which is also not very true, because Krishna, when he comes, he says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya tu duskritam dharma samstapanardaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Yes, Krishna has come with a proper plan. He's come with a proper plan to put an end to all the demoniac people, and he came for the love of his devotees, to indulge in and induce all the people of Vrindavan in the loving, beautiful pastimes of Krishna. So Krishna actually came with a definite aim to satisfy his devotees and to put an end to the demoniac people. He came with a mission, in which he done both of them towards the end of the end of his Leela. But here he's saying, like, because I have no fixed aim, and so people may call me as a vagabond, like we used to use this terminology when we were like, when we were young, calling a guy who's like, he's a free bird kind of thing, like, just going around and without any responsibility. We used to call him a vagabond. So here he's saying, like, therefore, I'm surprised that you could select such a vagabond husband. So we can see that Krishna, even though he's the Supreme Lord and doing all the beautiful Leelas, but here we can find that he is just downplaying himself and just telling so many things which are not true, and just calling himself so much inferior to the princes who were fit to marry Rukmini. And not only that, in just giving a different impression about himself. Normally, in today's material world, everybody tries to glorify themselves, try to market themselves. But here you find Krishna is doing the opposite. He's trying to say, like, I'm a coward, I'm coward boy, and I have no aim in life and things like that. So this is Krishna for us, full of leelas, and he's everything is infinite, and full of renunciation, full of love and things like that. But these leelas are so important, because how will we develop love for Krishna unless we find, like, when we see somebody, a small child, we say how sweet, immediately we'll start loving that small boy, like that. So like that, unless we know the beautiful pastimes of Krishna, unless we know how beautiful Krishna as a person is, because we are so fortunate that because of Prabhupada, we have this Srimad Bhagavatam, where we are able to relish the nectar and we are able to absorb this beautiful Leelas of Krishna. But otherwise, how many people have this beautiful opportunity where they could know about the most personal details of Krishna? Even today, if you go outside in the material world, even including people of Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma, there was so much of misconception they carry in their heads. And I don't blame them, because they never had any place where they could go and study. It was only passed on through the grandparents. And now everybody spread all over the world, so we don't know where they get the knowledge from. But fortunately, we have Prabhupada, who's given us this beautiful Bhagavatam and Krishna book, through which we can develop love for Krishna. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. So this is the thing, the Leelas, we can develop through the Leelas of Krishna, we can develop love for Krishna. So I just want to stop over here in respecting all of your personal time on a weekday. So we're going to just start again later over there from here, and carry on with the Leelas of Krishna and what Krishna is saying from here also. It's not the end. Conversation is going to go on. But yeah, some more nectar for next week. Hare Krishna. Any realizations, any corrections, anything, Sramanath Prabhuji?
Yeah, again, thank you, Sham. Well, I mean, this is quite an amazing Leela where, Krishna is joking with his wife, Rukmini. But it's also to be taken, in one sense, very seriously. That Krishna has this very ironic and contradictory character. That on one level he's a vagabond, which basically means he's saying to his wife, "I'm a bum. I'm a homeless person." But actually, he's not just a homeless person. He's Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when I'm thinking of these words, I'm also thinking of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was the king of spiritual masters, yet he presented himself so humbly, as if he's nothing, he's insignificant. And that's actually what attracted us to Prabhupada in one sense. With his incredible power and authority and knowledge, at the same time, his absolute humility. And we felt it. And Prabhupada actually communicated that to us in many ways. That actually he was nothing, and we all knew he wasn't nothing. But at the same time, he felt that actual humility. So in kind of a similar way, Krishna is communicating to Rukmini, "I'm nothing." Yet I've left the gopis. They're all crying. Everyone that gets involved with me gets upset. If you want to marry me, that's your problem. What can I do? I'm just I'm a no good 2-bit loser. So it's irony. It's in one sense it's joking with his wife. There's a sense of hashiras. Hashiras is comedy. So Krishna has that capacity to be the supreme comedian. But in another sense, it's also like Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but he's very humble. Just as Prabhupada is the supreme Prabhupada, the Prabhu, the master of which other Prabhus, masters, bow to. So he was the king of gurus for us, and he still is. Yet he was absolutely humble. Anyway, those are just some thoughts in my reflections on this amazing story from Krishna.
Prabhuji, we feel so blessed because it's just like listening, like as Prabhupada is here, actually, you're Sir Prabhupada, and you're just sharing this nectar with us and your experiences of how you felt with Prabhupada. We feel so fortunate actually to be listening from you. Otherwise, you are our direct connection with Prabhupada to listen about some of these personal pastimes, because some things are not easy to relate unless you would have personally experienced that.
Well, a lot of times devotees would ask me, "Oh, you were there when Prabhupada was there. What was it like? What was it like, Prabhu?" And it's like, okay, well, how do you communicate that? So I've developed a standard routine if devotees ask me that. What was it like? And I said, well, just imagine a personality with absolute power, authority, ability, um, you know, talents, and unlimited power of command, of knowledge, and so insightful and so respectful. At the same time, he's this high, powerful spiritual authority. He had absolute, unlimited humility. So so when you combine the two, you understand that was Prabhupada.
It's just like Krishna saying, like, he's a supreme, and then he's downplaying. It's just like that. It's like personality, like, I remember, like, I think George Harrison did mention once that what really attracted him to Prabhupada, he told, like, he's like other gurus, like maybe they'll just, and then he said, like, who are you? Like, what's your position? And he said, I'm a servant of the servant of the. He said, I was so attracted with the humility that Prabhupada spoke, like, his whole mindset changed after seeing Prabhupada responding like that, that I'm just a servant of the servant. What kind of a humility that he had. And
but Prabhupada was not just a sadhu. He had talents. He had managerial talents. He had abilities. He managed an entire organization, and he just built it practically overnight within 10 short years. So, of course, it's all through, Krishna and Lord Chaitanya's arrangement and grace, but at the same time, Prabhupada was not an ordinary personality, an ordinary sadhu. He had all kinds of abilities and talents, and it was only after Prabhupada left us, it was Sridhar Maharaj who coined the term that he's a Shaktavesh avatar. Shaktavesh meaning he was empowered, a jiva soul, but empowered jiva soul for a specific purpose. And his purpose was he was empowered to take Lord Chaitanya's movement, the Sankirtan movement, outside of India and preach successfully all over the world and establish the Krishna consciousness movement. So that was his expertise, that was his empowerment, and he was. There's no other personality that could have possibly have done it. And part of the magical formula also was his incredible humility and tolerance and ability to deal with all kinds of crazy situations.
Absolutely, Prabhuji. You could be having good at one thing, or you could have just done something, but Prabhupada has given us like a 360 degree, completely everything has been set up, just like a mighty institution has been set up, actually, like with everything, deity worship, bhakti yoga, mantra meditation, literally 360 degree worship. I mean, there's nothing that he has left, like, he's given everything on the platter. He's like, this is the platter, and it has everything.
Just imagine in the beginning of the movement, he would cook for his disciples, have a grand Sunday feast, and then he would serve the prasadam to his followers, his disciples. And then they would all leave. He would go into the kitchen and would clean up. 70-year-old man.
Amazing.
It was that kind of humility that the devotees said, wait a minute, maybe we should be helping him.
Uh, I think that's the way to the relationship also become more deep, no, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Like, when
Yeah,
this-
exactly. He didn't force it on anyone. They just spontaneously said, actually, we need to help him. Giving us so much, we have to reciprocate.
Yes, reciprocate.
He did. Oh, that was Prabhupada. You never, he was that transparent via media to Krishna. And because he was transparent, the qualities of Krishna shone through him as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The power of house of knowledge. How did Prabhupada, he would be surprised reading his own books. So it shows that even he was surprised to see like how this whole thing has come up so articulately, so nicely in the books. And Prabhupada would read his own books, and that itself showing that Krishna is so empowered him with so much of knowledge that even he was astonished to see like how much has come out and how much he was able to do it. And I think it's a beautiful lesson for to understand that when Prabhupada went to take so much of risk for Krishna and wanted to do so much for Krishna and for his guru, that when you were going in that way, Krishna gives so much of wisdom, knowledge, and the power to make things happen.
Incredible risk. Absolutely. It was no guarantee of success.
Yeah.
He struggled for a long time. But then, then the success came.
Yeah, absolutely.
Success came.
Absolutely. It did not happen overnight, also, Prabhuji. It took some time, and then one, just like a bamboo, suddenly it just grew.
But this was also Krishna's arrangement that, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Meaning, even for us, it shouldn't be easy. We have to struggle in Krishna consciousness. And that's how we get Krishna's mercy.
Absolutely. And that's why these stories are not only important, that not only Bhagavatam is important, but also the beautiful leelas of our gurus are important. Because that's why that is what is going to give us the strength when you're practicing Krishna consciousness. That's what inspires everyone.
Anyway, maybe someone else has some comments.
Yeah, Krishna, sorry. Gayatri ji, Ashim Prabhu, Nagar Prabhu, anyone, Amaga Prabhu, Indulekha Mataji. Any comments or anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, beautiful session, Prabhu. Really enjoyed this. Very nice. Thank you so much. And when you were talking about how Krishna himself is, and look at us, I was wondering, like, we are not at all humble. So
yeah.
I was wondering, like, we have to also learn a lot of things from reading all these scriptures. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Every day we are learning, and when you talk, it's really wonderful to hear you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you for giving us your association, Mataji. It's like whenever we speak about in the association of devotees, it feels like nectar. That's when the real nectar comes out. Only when we devotees are together. So yeah, thank you so much for giving your association. Very, very nice, and feel humbled actually that we have such wonderful Vaishnavas here to share with. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful night, and we will again meet next week, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments before we close?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, beautiful. These, as we delve more deeper, these pastimes are only getting more nectarian and sweet. Yeah, that's all we can say. I mean, and I was just contemplating that why Prabhupada mentioned that we need to read these books, because if we apparently ask anybody who does not read these books, they might think Krishna as first thing they'll say is a thief, makhan chor. Yeah, but or maybe doing like stealing gopis' clothes and all that. But the humble side of Krishna, that he like represent Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, we have seen how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Srinadapi Sunichena, but I mean here in the Krishna pastimes, one side he's providing 16,108 palaces to all the wives, and then he's saying, I have nothing, I'm just cowherd boy, I am just not even eligible to be a husband and all that. I mean, what contrast, like irony, exactly as Prabhu Ramnath Prabhu mentioned. I mean, Hasiras as well. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I mean, this really makes us think that unless we deep delve and read in the association of devotees, we do not churn the nectar, that these are real nectar.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
No,
you used the
yeah.
right word, actually. You used the right word. Churning of nectar happens only when devotees are together. That's when you're really kind of like, it comes with the form of bhakti.
And of course, reading with Prabhupada, this, I mean, of course, Ramnath Prabhu as Prabhupada disciple, what more can we ask? Like when his realizations are like, yeah, so deep and makes us think so much. So really very blessed to be reading.
That's the most important thing. Sanatan Dharma is a dharma of realization. We are not a religion of believers. We are a religion of realization. And everything we have to realize, that not to take anything for granted, but to appreciate and trying to understand how fortunate we are. Like,
absolutely, so much gratitude, and our like Krishna is merciful to. I mean, we are so blessed to have his association every week. Yeah,
absolutely. You're absolutely 100% right. Amaga, anything to want to close down? I am sure maybe you must be tired as well. But I don't want to disturb you. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe just in the interest of time, everybody's time. Thank you everyone for giving your wonderful association, divine association. I feel very humble. No way qualified, but still Krishna is giving a chance to just share this nectar with all of you. So thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha.
Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's all please say three loud Hari Bols to Prabhu, Sham Prabhu and Ramnath Prabhu. I think he's left, but still. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you everyone. Thank you Prabhuji. So we'll catch up again next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.